Hi, welcome to Coffee with Ronnie. I'm Ronnie Walter, and I have a delightful guest for you today. She is okay, uh, we will talk to her about her path and what she does. But if I can set the tone for who this person is, think of things like bubbles and rainbows and bluebirds on your shoulder. This is one of the happiest, most joyous people I have ever met in my life. And Joan and I have met each other, I think we probably met in person maybe 5 years ago, I would say, about that. And she is just a bright light in the world. She's also an accomplished artist. She draws like nobody's business, and she has a wonderful message for all of us about the twists and turns that we all find on this creative path that we are on. So please welcome my guest, artist Joan Marie. So hi, Joan.
Hi.
Hi. Every time I talk to you, Joan, I feel happier and more joyous when we end our conversation. It just buoys me for whatever is coming next. And I just appreciate that in you so much. So, cool. All right, let's get down to business, honey.
All right, yes.
So you are a professional artist, have been for a while. Just let's right out of the gate, what would you tell other artists that are on this path?
Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, yeah. Okay. I'm going to just dive right into the most important thing that I really have just learned, and I wish I had done it earlier. So, like your values. Like, have you ever looked up your values? Like, what is the most important thing in your life? Is it family? Is it freedom? Is it creativity? Is it humor? Is it spirituality? What is it? Look up the life values and pick your top 5, and then base your business, base your life on those things. Tell your friends, tell your family, these are my values. This is what I stand for. And then your business, you can form around that. And your values can change, but it's really important to understand yourself before you follow someone's, method to madness, method to making money in art, or the business of art, or doing art, or anything that you do in life, your family, anything. What are your values? And then if you say,
okay, can we just stop there for a minute, because that is like super huge. That's like super huge. So basically aligning, when you said your values can change, I'm not sure. Your core values, I think, are part of who you are as a person. And your values can shift a little bit, and because some things can become more important, but I'm not sure. I think the core values are the core values.
Yeah.
Do you agree?
I think you're right. I think sometimes though, when you have
argue with my guests.
Yeah, like what? Well, when you have a family, suddenly your family might become a priority than before your family. That kind of thing might change, but still your values towards your family is, you're right, the core is going to stay.
Okay, so when you look at core values, the importance of them, or where you have to turn your attention, may shift over the course of your life. Would you agree that that's true?
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah, that sounds good. Cool. That sounds good.
Awesome. Okay. Well, that is super cool. Okay, what else? So if you are leading with your values and your purpose, what would be the next thing?
The identity. So write this down. Write these questions down. Get your pencil out and write this down. Say, who would I be? How would I feel? And what would I do if I already had blank? If I already had $1 million, if I already had the perfect relationship, if I already had like the best art in the whole world, okay, then you look at that and you go, okay, then how does that make me feel? Like having that, whatever that is that you really want, how does that make you feel? So then the feeling you're going for. you understand, like, what does $1 million do for you? Does it help you start a business? Does it help you gain freedom? Does it help you, just get a place where you want to be? What's really important? So once you evaluate yourself like that, and those questions are really cool.
Wow, those are really great questions.
Yeah.
Those are really great questions.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. My basic question is always, does this make your eye twitch? And if the answer is yes, then you're doing the wrong thing. So yours are much deeper. Yours are much deeper. Yeah. Wow. Those are some wonderful questions. I will write those down and reflect back on those as as we all, we're all shifting and changing. And that is a great way to stay connected also to those values that we talked about. Is
your feelings.
Do those align?
All that matters is your feelings. Be in touch with, what do you want? Wow, that I'd never really, clarify what you want. And then if you visualize, I visualize 3 times a day, of what I want. And it's like a little daydream. It's just a happy time to just kind of go, oh, and it's not like, oh, I want. It's like, no, it's just relax and enjoy that. It helps you remember what you want, and it gets you in that feeling of feeling like you just had a dream about it, and it just feels so good, because life is all about feelings. So anything you can do to get to that place of, that is who I am, that's what I want. Yes.
Wow. Unless you are in touch with that and the feeling that you want to go after, buying people's courses and buying into their processes can become meaningless, because they don't align with who you are and how you want to feel. Is that true?
Huge. When you asked advice about business, oh my gosh, I bought so many business courses, and like, oh my gosh, I got to do this and this and this. Oh my gosh. And you're freaking out because you didn't feel good about it. And you don't, it's not, that's how they made money, or that's how they succeeded, or how they're happy. It's not going to always work for you. It's good to read about these things, but keep your distance to or just be in tune with your feeling. If you really love Facebook, if you love Instagram, if you love certain blogging, then do it. If you don't, do one thing, do whatever feels good. And, don't get into overstress. I always say, I love what you said about newsletters. Like you said, who's watching if you send a newsletter out every 2 weeks? Like, oh, Tuesday, she better be,
nobody's ticking off the list like, oh, received Ronnie's email.
Yeah, exactly.
That's awesome.
So if you're like overwhelmed and stressed about getting it out on that day, wait till the next day or the next week or whatever, because if you send a stressed letter, you're sending stress in the mail, and then you're like, why is my business not working? I'm working so hard. All you're doing is sending stress out to the world and in your life and in your little whirlwind of Peanuts dirty. Like you're surrounded with overwhelming stress. So, and you're wondering why your business isn't working, so like, just do what feels comfortable and good, and one step at a time, and do what you can with what you've got right now. And, lighten up. All you have is now, right? All you have is this moment now.
Wow.
So make it happy, make it good, make it peaceful.
Rainbows, unicorns. I love it. Okay, so I don't think you necessarily came into the world with this philosophy. Would that be true?
No.
No. So what kind of a child were you? What kind of an 8-year-old kid were you?
Well, I didn't draw, like a little bit I drew, but I wasn't one of these artists that like, oh, I was always going to be an artist. I never did, I little bit drew, but not much. And I was pretty quiet and pretty, I was fairly happy. I mean, I had a nice mom and dad I had a peaceful raising. So I had a peaceful personality, but I wasn't, I was always just kind of, looking and wondering and, observing and
right.
my excitement didn't start until I was 19.
What happened when you were 19?
I saw the Sistine ceiling. When I in college, I got a college course. I went to Italy and saw Michelangelo's Sistine ceiling. And when I saw that, I'd been to college 1 year and I didn't know what I was going to major in, or I wasn't a good enough artist to matter. And I looked at the Sistine ceiling and I was like, oh my gosh, if art can be that powerful, I have to be an artist because I have to add positive energy to the world through my art. I mean, that's just, it all came to me that moment. I was in the chapel and so then I became extremely driven. And then I got really happy because I had a goal. You know,
Right.
and I knew it was right. It felt so right in my heart. Because all up until then, I was just like, oh, kind of just searching, just kind of looking, kind of, I was pleasantly happy. But, I got hyper after the system. Yes, I know what I'm going to do. And then I crashed with depression because I was not very good and I got insulted and, all those stories.
So you go back to school after seeing the Sistine Chapel, and you don't feel secure or confident in your art abilities. What did you do at the end of college, or what did you decide to do?
Well, in my junior year, I could decide to be a teacher. So I thought, I think I have a personality to be a teacher. So I minored in art teacher. Luckily, I could minor. I was majoring in art, painting and drawing, but I minored in teaching. So I got a certificate and I got a teaching job like during my senior year, like before I even graduated. I got paid half the salary because I didn't have my degree, but I got a job like right away. So
Wow.
it was, well, that's a whole other story, but yeah, it was very, very cool. So I dove right into teaching. It was cool.
So so you were a teacher until you retired, correct?
No. No, I taught 10 years right from college. And after 10 years, and because, my little short story in college, one of the professors, I mean, this is one of the stories, said you're not creative and you shouldn't be an artist. I was a sophomore in college then. And he said, you're not creative. You shouldn't be an artist. You need to just drop being an artist. And I was like, oh my gosh. So can creativity be taught or do you have to be just born with it? And he said, you just have to be born with it. I'm sorry. So then, after, and I'm making this story real fast, but then when I got over that, like after crying, behind this door and saying, I just determined that you could teach creativity or that I could become creative.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah. So, because I could see that I was the worst one in the class and I could feel that I was not creative because I was insecure, blocked up, tight, tense, just I never had no social life, just run home, work, run back, just work. I was so, workaholic and driven to work, but no freedom. There's no freedom in my soul, because
Right.
I was like, I gotta be good, so. And so I taught creatively. So as a teacher, I said, I taught the kids to be creative. I studied everything about how to be a creative teacher. So after 10 years of teaching, one of my high school students said to me, well, you've made us creative, Miss Marie. So now why don't you go out and be a creative artist yourself? And I was like, wow, what a concept.
Is that through the mouths of babes? Is that the idea?
So I actually quit teaching at that point because I was in a little town teaching and I was making almost no money. It was the salary after 10 years was $11,000.
Oh,
And I know. So it's like, there's no money. I was in Florida and there's no money in teaching anyway. I can make that much money. So I quit teaching and I became for 12 years, I was a full-time artist. And I got involved, just to make the story short, I got involved in licensing and I had a real strong run with licensing, my kitty cats and unicorns and butterflies. And I mean, it was
right.
really what, making good money with licensing. It was really exciting.
Your work, because I know this work and it is delightful, and I encourage you all to go and look at Joan's website to see the quality of her work because it's astounding. But I can see why licensing at that time was really strong for you because it was a look that was very popular. It was kind of the Lisa Frank years, and that sort of fantasy art and really rainbow and hearts and all of that was super popular. And you're so good that I can see why that at the time was a really good thing for you. So then what happened?
Well, then, yeah, yeah. Why? You know, I was ecstatic. I made it as an artist. Oh my gosh! You know, like Mary Englebright. I'm gonna make it. I'm making it. And then suddenly my paycheck, you know, because they pay quarterly with licensing, and you know that's a very short story. There was a lot of challenge to get to the place where I was making it. Oh my gosh, you know, in licensing. So that I just jumped over, but, and the old way before the computers, oh my gosh. But anyway, they, so my paycheck was like, went down to a third of it suddenly. One of my quarterly, I was like, I called the main company, the biggest company.
Did you guys leave off a zero here?
Zero. And they said, you know, unicorns and cats have quit. They just stopped selling. Like, that's it, you know? And I said, well, then what's popular? And they said, petunias. And I said, petunias? Oh my God.
I remember the petunia years.
I know. It's like, you know, it's like in my industry, that's, you know, they were just following the trends, right? And so I'm, you know, trying to draw a petunia with love. And I was like, oh, stressed out, you know, and I could feel that I was not drawing a lovely petunia because I didn't like them anyway, you know.
Right.
And anyway, so you know, it's way too up and down. I had a daughter by then and she was 7 or so, and I just said, I can't do this irregular, you know. And you know what, I didn't quit teaching to do cats and unicorns. I mean, I loved it because she was little and it fit my lifestyle. I loved every drawing I did, but it's all they wanted was another cat, the same version, you know, the cat with the flowers around it. Let's do another version, cat with the flowers, another version, another cat with flowers. Like, right. What? You know, like, yeah, like, because that sells. And, you know, so I just said, you know, wait a minute, I need to expand. So I said, you know, I'm going to just go back to teaching. And for a while I was kind of hiding about it. I didn't want to tell any of my licensing companies that I went back to teaching. You know, I wouldn't admit, you know, they really never knew. And, but I was so excited about teaching because I got involved with, I needed to share, I needed to give, you know, like that's a part of my soul that as a loner in their studio, you can't do. So it was very exciting.
What was different when you came back to teaching? What did you feel was different? Because you come back as a different person.
That's a good question. Wow, I never thought about that. Because I was still hyper.
Okay, and still, so, you know,
I didn't quite learn that lesson to calm down, you know, that spiritual lesson of, that was a whole nother story. But I really think I was still the same person, but I had a bigger paycheck. At a better school. I moved to Missouri and they paid a big district and they paid much better. And that was a good incentive. And I don't know, I liked the security. I think I'm just supposed to be a teacher. So I was very excited about it. And I was excited then. I don't think there's a big difference.
Except we're always different because we're older and we have more life experience and all of that. So, but again, I don't want to put words in your mouth that there had to be this big moment that was different. Like, and then I decided, you know, because if it didn't, it was just sort of a process of doing that. And I think that is an excellent point of feeling like you didn't want to tell people, like the companies you were working with, that you were making a shift, because I don't know, sometimes we just feel like nobody wants to admit or be perceived as a failure. Even though it had nothing to do with you, because you were doing art that, you know, resonated with what your abilities were and what your interests were. And then when that doesn't sell anymore, that's not about you, that's about the market. And we forget to detach ourselves from the market. But I know those feelings of because I've certainly had them myself, where you're like, how are people going to perceive this? Because we live in such a world that people are all judgy, perceiving things the way they want to perceive them, whether that is true or not. And so I totally understand that. And I understand that when I talk to artists, when they say, but I've told everybody this is what I'm doing, and now I don't want to anymore. And you're like, well, move on. You have to find that.
Yeah.
You just have to find that. I think that is really, really interesting.
A few important points about teaching. Number one, I really wanted to be a teacher because in college, I wasn't that good of an artist, and most of my professors were insulting me. And one teacher really got me to learn to draw. So I was so thankful to him. And so I wanted to be that teacher to, bless. So I wanted to be that teacher that would help those kids, that had average talent, but drive. And I helped every student. But my theme as a student, as a teacher for student, my drive was to help them to learn to love themselves, no matter what level they were at. Like if scribbling was their skill, I would go, that is the best scribble ever. And they go, Miss Marie. And I go, no, I'm telling you, you're loose, you're free. Look at those lines, and I would really be honest. I wasn't just, like finding their strength. And the whole point, love yourself for who you are, and then I gave them tips and points to get better from where they were.
Right.
And a creative voice, like I always gave them freedom in assignments to express their own unique vision and to help them find their unique vision, help them find themselves. So that was a high. But I have to say one big story for me was after about, because I taught a total of 29 years or 28. And after about 5 years of returning to teaching at 15 years in, I hated teaching. Like all of a sudden I was like bitching to my husband. The students never knew, but I was cussing and saying, I hate teaching because the kids don't appreciate it. I'd be in the middle of saying, I'd share in my drawing 2 class. I drew this thing and this is how I felt. And oh my gosh, let me share, so you understand. And they weren't listening. And I was like, geez, you don't realize what you're missing. I'm like this professional artist with all this passion, and you don't even care what I'm saying. And I was like, why am I wasting my time on you guys? And so I started getting really cranky about it in my own head. And I wanted to quit. And then as I'm driving to school, I'm always listening to spiritual lessons, which I did every morning all the time, spiritual lessons to get better. And it's like, in order, like, wherever you are, if you hate what you're doing, you have a choice. You either quit what you're doing and do something that you love, or you learn, or you shift and you say, I'm going to stay doing what I'm doing, but I'm going to learn to love it and give it my all. Because if you don't give it your all and love what you're doing, you won't get better. You won't advance. Your life won't move forward. You will stay stuck in that rut of anger or frustration or flatness or whatever. You'll stay stuck. And I was like, no, I won't stay stuck. I've got it. So I was like, I'm getting a pretty good salary here. I've got security. I come home from school every day with high energy, drawing every night. Like, this is a pretty good gig. Like
right.
I got the weekend. Like I got steady money coming in. And so I started looking at the students differently, and I thought about my values. And my values were, number one is creativity. And here I am teaching creativity every day. Number 2 is spirituality. Spirituality is love. Love every human being. Well, that would exercise my ability to love every student, because, they come from home like a big fight with somebody or no money in the morning or whatever, they're angry, they're upset, they're turmoiled. We don't know where they came from. Love them from where they are and learn to, reach them from where they are. And it was such a huge transition, and challenge for me to just see them as loving, wonderful people from right where they are, not wanting them to be something they aren't, like we always want to do with our spouse and everybody else.
Right. If only they would change.
Yeah, if only they would change. My life would be so good, and we finally know it's us that has to change, not them, So I did that with my students, and it worked. The most frustrating students, I just loved them. And, the most weird, angry, frustrated student, like I just loved them. And things just changed like amazing. So it became a high every day.
Wow.
So from every day from then till the day I retired, I loved my job. I loved it because it was.
But you can pinpoint that to that day driving in your car, listening to that message and pulling into school going, I'm going to do this differently.
Well, it didn't happen exactly that moment.
Oh, let's say it did, because it's a better story.
That day after school, I sat and contemplated, and it was like, now what am I going to do? Am I going to quit? or what? And so how am I going to stick with this and be happy? So it took me some transitioning thinking time, but after I got clear, all you have to do is love. And that's how we answer to life, isn't it? Just love you, love others for where they are, be at peace about what yourself, where you are, and be at peace about where others are, and just lighten up and just think love. And it's just, it's just anyway, so yeah.
Wow, that is really big. And we have those moments where we get a choice, and it's usually a choice about, like you said, if you're not happy with what you're doing, then stop doing that. there's a message. And the other part is, if there's a lot of things that are working, then the shift has to come from you. The attitude has to come from you. And then that is the ripples that go out to the rest of the world. And that looks like love usually. So that's pretty powerful. That's very powerful. So let me interrupt for a moment. And I have, and then we're going to talk about some stuff that you are working on that I find really exciting and powerful. But first, we have our caffeinated question. That I must ask all guests, and they don't know what they are. Okay, so when you are working, do you like music, talking, or silence?
Silence.
Well, I can see that you would, because you just dive in. You're just with the work. Wow.
In the past, I had music. Like when I was doing abstracts, and I had this whole thing for 3 or 4 years. I was interpreting the music through abstract, like the movement, the color. I was interpreting the sound through my art. And so I always had the same song over and over, and music inspired me all the time. But then as I got more spiritual and more at peace, when I became more at peace, that was the key. Then I really was kind of bothered by music because it took me to where the music wanted to take me. It wouldn't allow me to get one with my art. I really wanted, I just really wanted to be at peace. That's such a new feeling for me because that hyper personality, I found out the definition of hyper was you're not happy with who you are, so you're anxiously trying to be somewhere else.
Right.
And,
right.
And that's where I was so many years, So when I finally and I was like, I have to love me and my artwork for where I am now. Oh my gosh, but I got there. And then the more I worked on that, the more I drew about that, the more I got there. And, and so the more at peace I got, the more I just wanted to be in silence.
Wow. That's amazing. That is amazing. Yeah. I actually like silence because I'm very influenced by, distracted. Yeah. So I can see that. Okay. What's your favorite movie?
Oh, Sound of Music.
Oh, yeah. Yes. Yes. I just pictured you on that green space running. Yes. Of course, you'd be wearing rainbow wings, but instead of a nun's outfit. But yes, I can totally see that. Totally see that.
And of course, Wizard of Oz. Somewhere over the rainbow.
That's a different movie. Love it. Okay, this is going to be a hard one for you. Well, actually, not in the way I'm asking it, but what is the art supply you cannot live without? I was thinking about framing that question in what art supply, if I took it away from you, would make you the saddest. But let's go with the positive. What's the art supply you can't live without?
Colored pencils.
Ah.
Yeah, they're my passion. They are definitely my passion.
And do you have a favorite brand?
Prismacolor, but I like DeWitt and any good high quality. There's several of them. I can't think of their names because they're kind of weird, but I have a lot of Prismacolor.
Yeah. I just got some Prismacolors at like a thrift store. And
oh, wow.
Like a big pack. I felt like I was robbing them.
Whoa.
Yeah, they're really nice. They really, a good quality one really does make a difference. Okay, your website is gorgeous. Totally gorgeous. And I know you've worked really hard to wrestle that baby into the state that it is now. we've had several conversations about that. And the website is always like a eye twitching, getting it right is just, but it really feels like it is gorgeous, totally gorgeous. So you describe yourself as a visionary artist. Can you tell us what that means?
Actually, it's brand new. I just discovered it. Alex Gray is a famous visionary artist. And if you don't know him, look him up and look up his definition of visionary art.
Okay.
When I read, and he came to my mind and I looked up his definition, I went, oh my gosh, I'm a visionary artist. And it's because you draw and paint from your soul. You know, it's not like, because people go, oh, you're an artist, you observe things so well. I go, I don't see anything out there. I like walk in outer space with my vision. Like I am just so spacey and I just don't notice a lot, you know, but all my vision is inner, you know, it's feelings, it's love, it's feelings. So all my art, my coloring, you know, like when I was free to draw, to use the colors that I want instead of what I observe, you know, that's, you know, or no color. Anyway, it's drawing from your soul, basically.
Okay. Well, they're incredible. They are truly incredible. And the videos of you working, I mean, I've always been a fan of watching process videos and to watch people work. And it really is lovely the way, I mean, you have such a great hand and it's pretty amazing. So tell me what you're working on right now in that vein.
I'm really excited. I'm doing a series called Power Animals Looking to the Light.
Ooh.
And yeah, because it's just very spiritual, because spirituality is my number one value and fun is second. But, you know, so I just got to make sure I'm having fun. But, you know, animals like represent, they're non-judgmental, you know, so an animal is very and also the spirit animals, if you look up every animal, they have a characteristic that they represent. So I'm representing characteristics through animals and looking to the light, which is God, you know, which is a higher spiritual connection, which is pure love, which is just being at peace with pure love. So I'm doing that series. And then the other big thing is I'm doing personal power portraits. And that's when people commission me to do a portrait, but it's through their spirit animals or power animals. It could be their face, you know, it could be like their face involved in with, and it doesn't have to just be animals. It could be, you know, your favorite flower or your favorite symbols or, you know, anything that takes you to that place of who am I? Like, what are my strengths? So when I look at that picture of me, and your face can be included or not, then it takes you to that place. Those are my strengths. That's how I feel. It lifts you to that feeling. So I call them personal power portraits, because our personal power is when we're completely who we are and not hiding that, you know, and we feel strength and yes, this is who I am. So a personal power portrait reminds you of your strengths visually.
Wow. So what if you don't know the person? How do you tap into that, the imagery that is going to come out in this portrait? I mean, because I can understand people going, well, I like, you know, pansies and I love peanut butter and I have a pug. So you want to throw those in there? I mean, how does it work?
I do a Zoom call with them, and if they're comfortable with that. Otherwise, it's a phone call. And I have a list of questions, and you know, I get to know their feeling. You know, what are their favorite colors? What is their energy? I mean, do they like peace or do they like hyper? You know, are they like movement? They're like, what is your energy and what makes them feel? What lifts them? So you get to know them. Obviously, you've got to get to know them, and I ask them questions and like, what is your favorite moment? You know, when is the most inspired moment? You know, what inspired you the most, or just what makes you the happiest, what makes you feel good. And through that all, I'll give out suggestions if they need more direction. Some people just already know my spirit animal or my power animal is this, and these are my characteristics, and this is what I want represented. But if they don't know, you know, I walk them through questions, and it's easy to find, you know, because we all can be represented.
I love this path that you are on, because it feels like it's marrying who you are and what you do and why you do it all in this beautiful way. And I know that has not always been, you know, especially when we're trying to make money doing what we're doing. We keep thinking, well, where's the market for this? Who is that person? What is the market? And we get so tied up into that spiral, if you will, or it's more like a circle where we just keep going around and around. And that is a process that we all have to stay on to really understand. And when you get that feeling of going, this feels like the right thing, and it takes us a while to get there. But that is the goal, is to really feel like you're aligning everything that you are with your work. Then you'll know how to reach these people, as opposed to just like, hey, here's some stuff, anybody want it? Which we've all done over the years. Like, hey, I drew this picture.
It is about believing in yourself. And I, with this line, I finally really believe in myself because it's my value. Like, this represents, I finally totally figured out that spirituality is number one. I've kind of always known that because I've always been studying spirituality, and that's, what has guided me to get through all my challenges. But like, to express it in my art and to pick up all the things that I've learned through all the different phases I went through with my art, because people like pick one style, like, oh my gosh, are you kidding me? Well, I did this phase, I did this phase, I did this phase, and I'm proud of all of it, but I wasn't quite there, like there was still that little piece of me missing, and I didn't know what it was until I came up with this, like that encompassed, but I needed all those stages to get to this place to where I had all that wealth of experience, and now the confidence is there, and I feel like I could, I just finally had that confidence with my art. Confidence is just through building, and you got to allow time for that.
Right.
Lighten up and allow time to go, just whatever.
So, and what else you got going on there, Joan? Because I know you always do.
I have a book.
You have a book? Oh, cool.
Create Magic. So it's all my art and me jumping around, and my daughter and people, and I jump around in nursing homes and entertain at nursing homes and make that, and see the smiles, and it's all positive words, spiritual words on how to be happy.
Oh my gosh. Well, that sounds wonderful. Yes. And that's available. We'll link that as well. I assume it's available on Amazon because everything's available on Amazon. So cool. We will link that for sure. Awesome. Awesome. Okay. Well, I can't thank you enough for being here. You are just one of my favorite people on earth. And if you ever have the joy of emailing with Joan Marie or texting, get ready for the emoji storm, because I always joke with her, I just send her random emojis just because it's so funny. But a bundle of joy, energy, and I look forward to seeing you in person again. If you have any questions for me or Joan or her process, I will certainly link everything to you. Obviously, liking this video or subscribing is just a great little, it just makes everybody happier. And I would appreciate that. And thank you, Joan. Thank you so much. I just think you're a delight.
You are awesome, Ronnie. I just love you. I have been so ecstatic to be able to turn to you, and so many times like, oh, I can call Ronnie. Oh, God.
Cool.
You saved me so many times.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. I really do. And this afternoon, I'm going to go Google values.
Values for life.
My values, because I tend to have a bit of a monkey mind, as Joan and I have spoken in the past, and I have a hard time sometimes, really staying clear on what are those values. So, thank you again, everyone. Thank you for being here, and we'll see you next time. And don't forget to stay caffeinated. Bye.